Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Earl Mowatt, Vice President of Education at onePULSE Foundation. Our mission at onePULSE Foundation is to create and support a memorial that opens hearts, a museum that opens minds, educational programs that opens eyes, and legacy scholarships that open doors. I want to thank you for joining us tonight for another Conversation Starter. So Conversation Starters basically are short film and panel discussions where we talk about subject matters that fall below the radar. For instance, this evening we're going to be talking about throuple relationships, where there's not two but three people involved in that. Right. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time, I think you'll be really engaged in this film presentation. And for those of you that are returning, thank you so much. We want to thank our sponsors, JP Morgan Chase and Orlando Utilities Commission, because without their generosity, we would not be able to have these programs for you. So without any further ado, I would like to turn it over to Throuple filmmaker, Chrissie. So Chrissie, please take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Earl, for that awesome introduction. Like Dr. Earl said, I'm Chrissie DeGuzman. I'm the filmmaker of Throuple. I wrote and directed this for my USC thesis film. A few years ago, I was actually going through wedding season myself, and I wanted to really understand what monogamy meant to me, what the Institute of Marriage and the ceremony of marriage meant for me. And so I came up with this story about a protagonist that is also searching for a deeper meaning of love and life and relationships. And so we will follow our protagonist Bubbles as she is really hungover from a really bad breakup, and she does a house call to a progressive non-monogamous couple, and there she embarks on a journey of love, of life, of embracing her own sexuality and loving more than two people at the same time. So please enjoy Throuple, and we'll continue this conversation after the screening.
Yeah, I got lost.
Hey.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's good. I was just vacuuming.
May I?
Yeah, sure. Where should we,
Just over there, that's cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Let me... She's either gonna love me or kill me. Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Wow, look at that. That's
The city could go fuck themselves.
it's for the children's section of the library.
It's Women's History Month.
Look at what I got for you. Store, let's give you that.
All right, give it to me. Help me with this.
That is,
How do you?
yes, ma'am.
All right, I love you too.
Oh, I got you.
Hello.
Can't see anything, can you?
No.
Just what? Yeah. Okay, you may remove blindfold.
May I?
Thank you.
Oh.
Happy birthday. Pineapple.
Oh.
Champagne bubbles? I mean, not champagne bubbles, but would you like some champagne bubbles?
Wait, your name is Champagne Bubbles? It's just Bubbles, and no, I don't drink on the job.
Ho! No?
Oh, wait. What are your rules? Rules? Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, rules. I like to touch, kissing's okay, and no penetration. All right.
You hear that? No penetration.
Oh, shit. Are you okay? Come sit down.
Go.
What's with the rice?
Just blessed rice from the Dalai Lama.
Not a big deal. It's okay. It doesn't
Fine, I can
matter.
get more, probably never, but
Yeah, we can't get more, but it's fine.
I'm so sorry.
You feeling better?
you ever eaten food in your life? Probably helped. There's not much left.
You know what? Let me.
Ah,
Good stuff.
comes out.
It is your birthday, and it's kind of the least I could do after.
You barfed in the holy bowl of rice.
Okay, stop. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Rough night?
Sort of.
You want to talk about it? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Broke up with my ex-girlfriend. I walked in on her and her co-worker.
Oh, man.
Ouch.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. Tequila got me through.
Here's to tequila.
Here's to tequila.
Wait.
And bitches who don't deserve you.
I hate when guys use bitches.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. She doesn't like it when I say that.
So, what about you two? What's your deal?
Our deal.
What's our deal?
Yeah. Are you guys like swingers or some shit?
No. But our door's wide open.
You make it seem like we're some sort of convenience.
But you like women?
And men.
What about jealousy? You guys ever get jealous?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's worth it, right?
Most times.
Most times.
Whoa, get back here! Nah, you know what? No. No.
Don't be silly.
I drank all your champagne.
We had so much fun.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. It's Joni, by the way. My name. You know what? They're kind of sexy.
a rebound.
I'm not saying I would, I never really thought about it.
Threesomes, foursomes, they're hot, they're fun. But that's it.
I'm so in love.
Is that my tip out?
Yeah, I made shit.
I keep trying to tell you that it is not all about ass and tits in here.
Hello? Hey. Oh yeah? What kind of thing?
Hey there.
Hi.
You look, no words. It's a good thing, though.
Thank you.
It's on the. I'm gonna go get changed. Okay. Gonna go change.
Hi. You were in for a treat.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I'm happy you came.
Me too.
Yes, so will you be meeting us at the will call, or do you want to come over to my house and pregame around 8-ish? Hello?
Shit. That's tonight?
Girl!
Fuck, I forgot. I'm so sorry. I love you.
Well, I love you too. Now let's batter up.
I can't.
What do you mean?
Ben and Baker and I are kind of like doing this no booze thing, but you know, make it up to you, girl. I love you.
So this is down. Wait, I go start at the cuticle.
Yeah. Oh, the cuticle.
This
You know
one
the
is.
terminology. So, guys, I kind of made us three some reservations at Malibu Wine Safari.
Ooh.
Followed by dinner at Nobu for my birthday this
Yes.
Wait, this weekend?
weekend. Yeah.
Oh, we can't this weekend.
It's our golden gate.
Golden Gate?
Yeah, okay, it's cheesy,
Oh, man.
but every year we road trip to the Golden Gate Bridge where we celebrated our first smooch at the Golden Gate
On the
Bridge.
Golden Gate Bridge, like a movie star.
That sounds like fun. My cousins actually live there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll
We'll be back
be
Sunday
back on
night.
Sunday.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so why don't you hang out with your friends and then afterward we all hang out? Sound good?
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll do a proper birthday.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's very fancy.
Okay, so this one?
You like that one, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Just take it. We're going to come back in a day. Have you seen my beanie anywhere?
I have seen your beanie. Wait.
It's on my head. Oh, shit. All right.
I can't.
Bye. See ya.
I thought you were gonna go do your little thingy thing with your sister wives tomorrow.
No. They're out of town this weekend. Got that Golden Gate thing.
You know when a unicorn loses his horn, it becomes another damn horse.
I think I'm in love.
With the both of them? Oh, come on, you need to listen. You are living in a fantasy land, honey. They are married. Married. You are temporary. Come on, man, you will always be a third wheel. You can't even trust one person. One. What makes you think you can trust two?
So are we doing this or what?
Yes, we are. Let's do this. Oh, we love you. Ah.
Johnny? We waited for you.
I know, I'm sorry.
Stop.
Float on until you land. 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 Love is not a show. Love is bearing witness without a word. Love is the space to grow into something beautiful and absurd. Float on until you land. Float on.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to be having a really dynamic conversation on polyamory and really what it means to be in a throuple. So we are grateful to have some really amazing panelists today. We have Chrissie DeGuzman, who is the filmmaker. We have Mike Hurd, who is a counselor and also an individual who is in a polyamorous relationship. And then we have our wonderful Dr. Earl, who will be joining us as well. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah. So let's jump right into this, right? Because there was a really great film. A lot of things really come up when you watch it. And I just want to start with a very basic question, which is, why is Throuple a story worth telling? And Chrissie, we can start with you since you're the one that told the story.
Yeah. Well, being in a throuple myself, I want to see representation on the screen. I think that it's time to push the narrative forward, that these kinds of couples configurations exist in a healthy manner. It doesn't have to be something that's looked down upon or feared. And yeah, I wanted to just present another color in the spectrum.
No, and that's actually really powerful and impactful. And when we first saw the film, I think what really took me aback was the fact that you portrayed a throuple from a point of romance, right? You really capture the idea of like, this is opening your heart to other people, aside from just the sexual aspect, which is what people usually think of when they think of the name. Mike, do you have any reason why Throuple is a story worth telling?
You know, it was amazing because I got an opportunity to watch it with my partners. So my assistant was like, hey, we have to watch this movie. Like, let's, and I'm just watching it for research purposes so I could, you know, come on here and talk. I was touched. I was empowered. It's not often that I watch TV and I feel empowered. I will feel love. I'll feel, you know, different emotions, make you cry, make you laugh. But to watch something and to feel empowered is amazing. So that's probably the feeling that left, you know, once the movie was done.
And that's wonderful that you really took that away from it, because I'm sure Chrissie is glad to hear that. Chrissie, you mentioned something that really hits me. It's like the fact that we don't have to look down upon a polyamorous relationship or upon a throuple. And when we think about society, right, there are some societies in which you know, polyamorous relationships are really the norm and they're seen as, you know, not a big deal. But here we have in our society where sometimes it is looked down upon. Sometimes there is some negative thoughts that are cast on it, you know. But the question I have would be, what role does society play in the way we view polyamorous relationships?
Well, I feel that the definition of polyamorous is people just don't even know what it means. Poly means many, amorous means hearts. And so when you are polyamorous, it's heart-centered. Yeah, sex, of course, has a lot to do with it. Sex has a lot to do with love in general, right? It's always going to have a part of it. And I feel that in order for society to really make sense of it, they're like, oh, it's a sex thing. You know, it's far different from swingers. It is really a practice of a deeper understanding of attachment, of communication, of boundaries, of consent. And, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like being in a polyamorous relationship really does funnel and teach me mostly about self-love, because at the end of the day, like, that is just, you know, who is the most important relationship in whatever configuration you are. And it is difficult to really talk about, okay, let's break down polyamory, because polyamory can be seen in many different ways. For example, the throuple that I'm in right now, we've been together for 6 years. And we started off in like a hierarchical situation where it was my wife and I, and then the third, but now it feels really egalitarian. You know, there's like, we're really just like a very equal moving triangle. And that's not really seen either. I don't have a lot of friends in the polyamorous community that have had relationships that look like mine even. And then you put us into society where, you know, we are isolated completely. But very fortunate to have a lot of support from our family and friends. And then this outlet of film that I get to express and further the dialogue. So we can, you know, really start having a conversation and start having acceptance, some curiosity around it, versus something that's usually in a storyline that's just like, it doesn't work out. It's never going to work out. There's a lot of like,
Right.
and there's a lot of fear and jealousy. And jealousy, I know that'll probably be another question that comes up, but yeah, so that is, yeah.
Right.
Andres, may I ask a question to Chrissie and Mike? So Chrissie, I really love that you showed, I think there are a lot of people in the audience, and this is educational for the audience, right? That you define the difference between polyamory and like swinging, right? Because people think it's the same thing. You also mentioned self-love. Well, who would have thought that these relationships existed in a form that's so functional to the human, right? As self-love, and that's an important intrinsic thing that we need. And I'm so glad that you're sharing to the audience that there is a difference. But Mike, you said that you connected to Chrissie's film. You felt self-empowered, or you felt empowered. Can you share to the virtual audience what that means? And I'll put it back to Andre.
Everything. Because again, we live in a very social media based society now. Everybody has a platform, right? And when a person like me, who comes from a very, and I cannot express very enough without writing it 1,000 times, religious background, okay? My mom's a preacher, okay? My dad is a deacon in ministry. My grandparents were preachers. My uncles and aunts are preachers. Everybody, and we're not preachers that like preach on Sunday but then turn up on Saturday. We're the type of folks that the same way you live in church on Sunday is every day, right? So I grew up never fitting in, but excelling in an environment that hated me.
Mm.
So the thing that I love the most, if you ever get to know me, is my spirituality. But for me, my sexuality is connected to my spirituality. And I had to make a choice. Either I could play the game and become successful, but not, well, successful in the eyes of people, or I could choose to live my truth and lose everything. I lost everything because I chose my truth. So when I see movies, television shows, media, that at least helps me to understand I'm not crazy. Just on that surface level is very empowering to me. And that's what I walked away from when I watched, or walked away with when I watched Throuple.
No, and that's pretty powerful. Thank you for bringing in the concept of religion, right? So, what view does faith leave us when it comes to our relationships, and how does that affect us? That's a really great point. So, we kind of have answered a couple of the questions here. You know, I was going to ask you what impact do films like this have on the way we view relationships, but I think that one was pretty much answered. I will ask you this question though. You know, as people that are actively living in a throuple, what are some of the misconceptions that people have about it, and how do they, like, what are some of the struggles, right? So do people view you differently? Is there discrimination attached? And we'll start with Mike.
Okay. Okay. So when I first discovered I was polyamorous, I had to be about 7. Okay. Now, let me tell y'all, that might sound crazy, but I remember growing up in church where my pastor always talked about the first lady, right? And in our circle, our culture, subculture, pastors and first ladies to us are kings and queens. We don't see them as any other way other than the queen, the king and queen of England. And that's just honest. And so I never understood when I was told when I was little that I was going to be a preacher. I never understood why I could only have one first lady. It just never set right with me. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then we would hear stories in Sunday school about he had this many wives and he had this many wives and he had this many wives. And I'm thinking, like, David had 300 wives, 700 concubines. Like, why is it not like that today? Because I was drawn to the character of David surfacely because he had so many partners. Bump that he was God's favorite, bump that he was a warrior and a king. It was the fact that he had something that resonated with me, right? So I never understood that. As I grew older, you know, of course, I started to play the game. I started getting into ministry, being a pastor. I started preaching when I was 13, and I stayed in ministry, a traditional ministry, until I was 40. And so I would always wonder what was wrong with me. Why did I want more than just one partner? Why was I, and they're going to watch this video and they're going to probably call me, why was I in love with Maisha and Asha at the same time? Right? I thought something was wrong with me. Yeah. So I would just go on through life. As I got older, I started studying polyamory. And I thought for sure, as a Black African-American educated man, I was going to have to move to Salt Lake City. No, and I'm just being honest. Because I knew in Utah, polyamory was a normal practice. So in my mind, I'm end up having to work for Delta, move to Utah, and build a life. That's what I thought. Only to come to realize that a whole lot of people around me are polyamorous, but they're just not honest. Mm-hmm. So what I learned as I started to just live my truth, the very people who attack me publicly on social media, it don't matter, are the very ones cheating on their spouses. And so it just made me be in a place where I had to figure out, why are we like this? My research has showed me 2 things. One, this country, America, was definitely founded with the intention, and I want to use wisdom on how I say this, to manipulate and control. And when you pull us out of our customs, our culture, our people, our area, what we were normal to, which was in many cases over in Africa, polyamory is still a very normal, everyday practice. I have friends who come from poly families. It was the misinterpretation of 2 scriptures. about being the husband of one wife for a certain position in the church, that when they started the social construct of monogamy, they used that as backing in order to be able to do a census that didn't include me anyway. So I realized that I was subscribing to something that wasn't even about me. So I decided for me that I was going to not allow what society said. I was already Black. I was already educated. I'm already a male. I'm already strong and aggressive in my personality. I'm already gay. I've already been diagnosed. What else more could there be? So I said, if I'm going to live my truth, I'm living it the whole entire way. I will say this. When I first started, it was hard as I don't know what. Over the years, the last 4 years, many people have come to me, apologized, told me their stories, how they got into polyamory, how our stories saved their relationship. And then from there, we started to see change.
That's beautiful. That really is. And, you know, you bring up a really great point about people that are having affairs themselves being the first ones to point the finger. That idea of like, you're showing me something that makes me feel insecure, so I'm going to, you know, condemn you for it. You know, Chrissie, I would be interested to hear what misconceptions, what challenges have come along with your polyamorous life.
Well, first off, thank you, Mike, for sharing all of that. Like you know, there are a lot of commonalities in our paths. I do want to bring up just the difference between polyamory and polygamy really quick. So polygamy is something that is usually like in the Mormon faith and also in the Bible as well.
Right.
And I like to like stray away from polygamy and polyamory because a lot of people also have that misconception that it's the same thing, that you're a sister wife or a brother husband.
Right.
And polygamy is usually male-centered, so it's the man with multiple women. And whereas polyamory is just kind of like, you know, a equal playing field of whatever you want to make it, you know. So yeah, I just wanted to just point out that really quick. So yeah, maybe that's one misconception. And two, yeah, I think that you know, we've covered the whole like, you know, sex, it's sex-centered. And like I said before, I'm not straying away that it's not sex-centered, because sex is a very big part of relationships in general and being a human. But I think the jealousy aspect is probably something that always gets asked. How does it work? How do you do it? You know, how do you get jealous? Yeah, we're human. You know, we always get jealous. It's not like this. I wish we had this, like, you know, a Jedi mind trick where we can just like zap out. Although, you know, being, you know, poly for, you know, more than a decade, it's definitely helped sit, you know, with jealousy and not like be so reactive. And, you know, there's that elusive word, compersion, which is like really finding joy in another one's pleasure. And yeah, that really exists. I mean, it took me a long time to really come to that, but I mean, I could honestly say I've experienced that. And it really is something that's so beautiful when you can truly, truly, truly feel someone else's pleasure that doesn't have to do with your own. And I think that is something that we don't really talk about a lot. And then there's just like the silly ones that are like, okay, so is it one bed or how do you do it? And truly, it's like in my throuple relationship, when we started, we were rotation, you know, okay, who's going to get the middle? All right, you know, And now it's like, you know, we're in the process of creating our super bed. And so like we have a king, and then there's like a twin that's attached. And, you know, so we're trying to figure out like the person in the middle doesn't get a nightstand. So, okay, like let's get like a headboard that has a, you know, so those are the things, you know, like little things where, you know, you just would want more. I mean, I feel like we're we're starting it. We're starting it by having this conversation. But you know, to have 3 sinks in the primary bathroom, that would be great. You know, to like have +2s at a wedding, that would be nice too. So yeah.
Right. Can I piggyback off of that last one? You are so correct about the +2. Now, my family is a little bit larger than just a throuple. We were a throuple for a while, but it's a little bit larger. But I will say this: that was probably one of the harder parts. So when I get invited, they'll invite me and my husband Monty. They'll say, "Oh, well, you are invited." I'm like, "Well, no, there's more of us," and I will let them know, and then they can tell me whether or not, you know, we're able to come, or, you know, if it would be okay or if it would be ideal. So I run into that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chrissie,
Yes.
thank you for sharing that out. You mentioned something, you drew the distinction between polygamy and polyamory, which we really need to wrap our heads around, right? So there are a couple of things, though. There's one other area that we just don't get discussed, right? Or that just doesn't get discussed. And I believe it's a system of inequality, polygyny, right? Polygyny. So polygyny basically is where it's women-centered, right? As polygamy is male-centered. And in polyamory, it's just everyone, and in polygyny, right? Do you think that this focus, even when we talk about polyamory, and polygamy, that's become kind of mainstreamed, if you will, in terms of media, right? Do you think it undermines the women's perspective in this, how we interpret these relationships?
Yeah, I think that the women's perspective is undermined a lot. So
Period.
naturally, something that is, you know, as not talked about as this, absolutely. The women's perspective is definitely overlooked.
Facts. And that's sad. That's sad. Yeah. Because again, as you all previously stated before we started filming, I believe women are superpowers, and they hold the key to the answer for so much. And this is just honest. Like, if we're having an honest conversation, the fact that we even think of polyamory as a sexual thing is a very patriarchal type of way of thinking, because what ends up happening is that it becomes more about sex. Mm-hmm. I can tell you this: in my family, my poly family now, I have had less sex now being in a family like this than I have ever had. And yes, it might be because I'm a little, I'm 45 now, okay, but it's the quality over quantity. Mm-hmm. And when we do have opportunities to be intimate, it is so mind-blowing and connecting, because it's true and it's honest and it's real, and we're able to bring our full selves into that situation instead of, oh, I messed around with someone last week, I want to make sure they know that. Like, it's none of that. You don't feel that energy. It's not there. Mm-hmm. And it's not that we're perfect and we do everything right. It's that we're just striving to just live our truth, which makes the sexual experience so much greater than just as, oh, well, we're polyamorous and I bet y'all have a whole lot of sex. Mm-hmm. Y'all get what I'm saying? Yeah. It really is deep and it touches me. I leave sex a changed person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to be better. I want to be, and I'm not talking about as sex, I'm talking about as a human. I want to be the best man I can be. And women do not get enough recognition for what polyamory may mean to them. And I would only know this because in our family, we have someone who is trans. He's a trans man. And the way he interacts with us is completely different. What he values is completely different than what we did coming in, but we're learning. Mm-hmm. And now it's more it's I don't want to sound spooky, but it's more about the energy of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So women, they just do not get enough recognition for the power they bring to this earth on any subject, especially this, since we're talking about it right now.
Yeah. Wow, Mike, you are like mastery level poly. Like that is like, whoa. Like I think that I am in awe and inspired by you because yeah, I feel like the poly the way that like maybe my partners and I do poly is just where we feel pretty monogamous, but yeah, like we're not open, we don't date outside of the configuration. Although, you know, I mean, it's not like a closed thing. Nothing is permanent.
Right.
Everything is open for discussion.
Right.
There hasn't been any like, you know, cravings for that as of now. But when I hear you talk, I'm like, wow, like that is the next platform to be on. So, I mean, I know we'll put a pin on it, but we need to have like coffee or something because it's
Definitely.
great to know how about your family.
Definitely. We, you know, our thing is this. I don't believe in the word compromise. I don't like that word. As a counselor, as a therapist, I have never liked the word compromise. Because when I did a paper in school about compromising, I realized and learned that psychologically, whenever you compromise this much, you plant a seed of resentment. Now, you may say, oh, that's nothing. Okay. But after you have had seeds planted for 2 years, things start to grow. So I believe in the word collaboration. You bring all of you, and I bring all of me. And we don't do anything until we figure out, whatever the subject matter is, how we can both be everything that we are. And that may take a week of conversation. Talk, walk away from it. Talk a little bit, talk in the car, walk away from it. Talk at the park, walk away from it. And then we let the universe start to change hearts and minds. See, the problem is with most of us, we're such in a rush. And most people, they fear love. In polyamory, you operate in fear, you won't make it. You can't control. You can't manipulate. You can't be in the one running everything. It just cannot work like that. So you literally, and I know, Chrissie, you'll be able to relate to this. You lose your power, but you gain something that this world could never give you.
Can you clarify when you say in polyamorous relationships that you can operate in fear? Yeah, because, and is that different from being in a monogamous relationship, right?
We can go on Twitter right now and see couples fighting all over the world. People are fearful of being lied to, cheated on, used, misused, abused. Now, if you are like that about one person, imagine having to deal with that level of fear with 2 or more. You know, my husband right now, he's probably gonna kill me for saying this, but they all know I'm an open book. I don't hide anything about my life. He still struggles with that because he grew up in a family where he never even heard the word, I love you, until 5 years before his dad died. My husband is 42, he'll be 43. And to have only received, all he had was his dad his whole life. And to only be able to receive love from the person who was supposed to give it to you for the last 40 years, only 5 of those 40 years that you needed it, you're going to be in a place of fear. So in our family, the word leader doesn't mean the one who is in control or the one who tells everybody what to do. The word leader in our family means the first person who does what is right. I can't be the leader if I'm not going to do what is right. So I take my time and I go overboard loving him, showing him, talking to the other partners like, hey, if he acts like this, it's because of this. Or if he does that, it's because of that. There's so much fear. And when you come in and you bring humans together, there will be that fear factor. There will be the jealousy. But that's when you have to then transcend to a higher level of love and patience. That's what I had to learn.
So, and I'm just going to ask this one other question. I'll ask to both you and Chrissy. Fear is a strong emotion, right? It makes us, it operates on us. So we know that dyads, two people, and triads, there's going to be different relationship dynamics, right? So in a dyad, just two people, you've got, if there's argument erupts, it's between the two people. Now, in a triad, which is the throuple basis, right? You've got three people. So are there times are part of triads? Sometimes it's not each person is going to have their own perspective. A lot of times two people, and where's the consensus drawn for resolution in those kind of situations? Share with the audience, please.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I can only speak from my experience and not how it usually goes. We're lucky to have a therapist in the fold. You know, my wife is a therapist. So she's usually the neutral one, you know, like the level-headed one. And then you have me as the artist. And then our third is in wellness and fitness. So the bulk of any kind of argument usually resides with myself and Elodie. Sorry, babe. I'm just gonna do it. So yeah, so usually like that'll, you know, we will have arguments, and then Wilma, who is, you know, a therapist, great one. Not that she has to be a therapist all the time, but you know, we're just lucky to have that flow of, you know, we have like usually a neutral one, but you know, she's human too. So not all the time is Wilma going to be the neutral one. And I feel like being 6 years in a relationship, we finally found our flow. Like if one person is feeling something, then there's support. So it's not like taking sides. It's actually, how can we support this person that is feeling this way? So the person that's usually on the outs will support. So it's just a reframe, you know, it's like, how do we support this person in whatever they're feeling? How do we support these two people in whatever they're feeling? But in the beginning, no, it's very messy. It's really volatile. I think that the fear place in our configuration, and maybe for others as well, was insecurity. That's how it showed up. Is just, and so that's where you have to really teach yourself self-love. How can I be more secure in this relationship? Then once you're more secure in yourself, then you don't have to worry about fears or comparison, or am I less than, or, you know, is there a stronger connection? You know, you just have to, like, this is what I bring to the table. I know I'm loved and respected, and that's it. So that's how that shows up in our relationship.
I'm literally holding back tears.
Mm.
You get it.
You get it. No, you get it. I'm so grateful to have met you through this. You get it.
I'm beyond grateful because I'm the therapist counselor in the family here, right? However, I'm also the first one to start rocking when they rolling. You know, when we're having one of those days, you know, I rock. Like you start rocking, and that's a theme in our house. Everybody knows that, because I am, like, I'm not doing this to explore. I'm doing this because this is my life, right? And you are 100% correct. If you all ever get an opportunity to see my husband is probably one of the most beautiful men on this earth, and that's the truth. I don't say that because he's my partner. I say that because the man is beautiful, but he doesn't know it. He struggles with it. We're at the gym. Everybody in the gym watches him when he walks, when he moves. He doesn't see it yet. And I was just telling the universe yesterday, I said, I just need to know what can I do to support that, to help him through that. And as a therapist, you may think like, well, you would know it, but I'm sure as your wife will tell you, you don't ever have the answers for yourself, but you can hear someone else say it and it'd be like, oh, I got it. We deal with fear. We have one rule in our family: do not lie. That's all I ask. I don't care how dumb, how stupid, how crazy. I don't care if you murdered someone. I don't care what. Tell me the truth. We took away the sting of fear by eliminating consequences. That doesn't mean we don't hold people accountable. There's a difference, right? So when you are fearful and you are automatically set to lie, that starts a ball. So what we try to do is make it to where when you're having feelings of fear, jealousy, not feeling good enough, whatever your emotion, be honest, because then we can process it. I think 2 weeks ago, we had someone in our family who was jealous of another person. So I just took a moment during our weekly family meetings, and they know me, I say whatever. And I said, okay, so let's address the fear and jealousy right now. And I, talked to who the people were. And I looked at him and I said, well, what is your fear that would make you jealous? What do you think that's going to happen? And when they shared it, now in our family, we do something called, we celebrate, we celebrate dumb shit. Like, it's like if somebody says, oh, I wrecked the car today. Oh my God, yay! Because in our family, truth is more valuable than love. Because I love a whole lot of people I don't trust more further than I see this wall, right? So we value truth. So we celebrate it. Then we resolve it. But we let people know in our family, like, you're safe. Whatever your fear is, we will conquer it together. And that you don't have to keep it inside, because that's where fear gets its power, from silence. So we address it head on. But do we deal with jealousy? Hell yeah, of course. And we have to deal with it in a very adult type of way, which includes being radically honest.
Yeah.
So just from listening to that, honestly, I feel like I'm getting a master class on how to be in a relationship, regardless of whether it's polyamorous or not, because it's so true. Like the communication piece really stands out, right? The ability to fully share yourself with somebody else and other individuals, like that's huge. I guess my question for you would be, and I can kind of see the benefit of what it means to explore something, but is there a benefit to exploring alternative relationship styles? And also, correct me if the term alternative is something that we need to take out of the equation.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chrissy.
Yeah. Oh, alternative. It feels okay for me. That's fine. Absolutely. Yes, explore. But do it with care. Do it with respect. Be educated while you're doing it. Have the right support system. Go into it with the right intention. Be intentional about it, because with anything you do, if you don't have the intention of really understanding what it is to be in an alternative relationship, then it's just going to be really a lot of hardship, and your worst enemy in this situation. You have to be like, you have to deal with the deep, dark corners of yourself if you want to open your relationship, because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. But I feel like this is the evolution. We are evolving as a species. I think that polyamory, different configurations have always existed. But I feel like now we're actually in the fold. I know a lot of the Gen Zers are really talking about it and really embracing it. I'm like, all right, amazing.
They are.
I had that. So I think it's just really leaning into evolution.
I agree. 100%. This new generation, they don't care. They're going to be themselves.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like our ancestors.
Mm.
They're not going to flow in what doesn't feel right for them. Think about this. 20 years ago, there could have never been a sexy red. Now, the only reason why I know is because I'm 45, but all my partners, they 30. So I know a little bit about their music. But my partner, Jory, he introduced me to this song called Pound Town. And I was like, this is a mess. This ain't going nowhere. This song is going to flop. She ain't even on beat. She sound crazy. And then just Monday, when we went out on our family date night, I'm dancing in the middle of the club to Pound Town with the rest of my family. We could have never had that.
Can you give some context in that, the Sexy Red thing? And because someone's like me.
So, Sexy Red is a new hip hop artist, who is independent, and she has a song. It's a very sexual song, but it's about females being just as liberated in their sexuality. Thank you, Megan Thee Stallion, as everybody, and Little Kim and Nicki and Cardi. Just about being who they are and that they can own their sexuality as well. And again, I'm an R&B old school, give me, Tevin and Tracy Spencer and whoever, Monica and Brandy, right? But to them, and my daughter's 21, she'll be 22. My grandson is 5, I think he's 5. And I promise you, when I listen to those type of music, I just told my daughter yesterday, you are going to be able to do so much more than I was ever able. My grandfather, who is my dad's father, 60 years ago, was living in Bessemer, Alabama, with 8 women at one time, had children by all of these women, 22 children. There would have been 23, but one passed. And he lived his truth, didn't care. He was Big Daddy in Bessemer. Everybody loved him. And even though he had a whole bunch of women as his wives, people just didn't bother him because he was such a good man. He helped the community. He did a lot, Everybody just knew he had a whole bunch of women. My dad is the same exact way. But he didn't have the guts. And he just told me this a couple weeks ago. He didn't have the guts to live his truth. But my brother and I, it's in us. And I didn't even know it was in my brother until I accidentally found out before I even told him that I was polyamorous. Mm. So I'm starting to see it even in my daughter. And I told her, I said, you don't have to conform to anything that is not you. But again, being raised up in a religious family, she's like, I don't want to make my mom mad. I'm like, you have to live your truth. So this generation is very different. They want honesty. They want full disclosure. This is the reason why we saw a rise for a while of reality shows. People got tired of what wasn't real. We want to see what's true, although we know reality is not real either. But we want to see what's true, what's honest. We want to see it messy. We want to see people argue and resolve it. We want to see how that, you get what I'm saying? We desire something different than the generation of my parents who wanted to cover everything up and look perfect. Because the truth is, like I told my mom, I think maybe a week ago, the truth is, I'm just living out what my daddy lived his whole entire life. I'm just doing it honest.
If I can go back to, this was on my heart, and I just wanted to share this. I learned in this little brief moment that we had, and this is what I learned, and I hope the audience learned this too, the virtual audience, because it's what we do at Pulse, right? onePULSE, is that Andre said, you know what? We talk about, he mentioned alternative love, right? But I'm learning as he is that it's no different, polyamorous from monogamy. It's about love. That's foundation, right? And dare I say this, and even in like polyamorous thruples, you even have more support in that relationship. So it has to be an evolution of a great thing, which is love, right? And I didn't know, I didn't connect that dot. I guess, society tells me that I'm supposed to think of a thruple relationship. So when Andre said that, he's starting to see that it's the same thing. And it is, because the foundation of all of this really is love. And I hope that people in the audience really understands that, the virtual audience, that this is all about love. So I'll defer back to you on this.
Yeah, well, we're actually coming up on our time, but I really am grateful that we're able to have this conversation, because when we decided to have this topic of conversation, we got a little bit of pushback to where it was like, why, and I think you did a wonderful job of answering why. Is because this is love at its finest, really. It's love in a way that has been perfected through communication, patience, understanding, and it's wonderful to be able to share these conversations with both of you. It has been phenomenal. I do want to say to everyone watching at home that we're about to drop a link in our chat that's going to have a survey. Please make sure you fill out that survey. That is how we continue to evaluate our programs and also get funding for future programs. It's also going to be in the comment section, so make sure you fill that out. And before we head out, I just want to ask you one more question, and it is, what is your one piece of advice for someone looking to either explore a throuple or that is in a throuple and is in the beginning stages? One piece of advice.
I'm just going to go back to what I said before, intention. Just be really intentional about why you are ready to explore this. And when you are in it in the beginning, go back to your intention, and that'll be your North Star of why you want to deepen love, why you want to explore this. Is it for yourself? Is it for your partner? So just be really intentional about your choices and your actions.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mike?
My one piece of advice is just be honest and true to yourself. Honesty, like, it's just not celebrated enough. It's not. And I know people say, well, you shouldn't be celebrated for what you should normally do. Child, we live in a society where you are greatly rewarded for lying. I was a pastor for over 20 years, and I was celebrated for lying. So if you're going to do this, go into it honest about what you want. And if you're in your exploratory phase, like Chrissy said, be honest about it. Just say, I don't know what I want. I think this might be it. Now, you can't come over here to my family because we need to know what you're doing. But there are people who want to explore with you. You should be able to have that. So be honest.
Perfect. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to both of you again for joining us tonight. To all of our viewers at home, thank you for watching. And we're actually going to leave off with Chrissy, who's going to give us a special anecdote about what it was like to make the film.
Yeah.
So she is going to give us a little bit of a fun story. And then don't forget to fill out the survey that is either in the live chat or in the comment section. Thank you. Chrissy, take it away.
And I would like to close out with this thought. Mike, I do want to thank Chrissy and Mike for really engaging us in this conversation tonight, because I think they really brought some profound insight into throuple relationships and polyamory, something that we don't really talk about as much. Mike mentioned that and I wrote it down, monogamy was a social construct as a way of maintaining control. Right, so that brings to mind Freud. He said there's a tension that exists between the individual and society, and his civilization is in its discontent. He said that we are often dictated by society what we ought to do, who we ought to be, and that creates a tension, and that's the reason to a lot of unhappiness in our personal lives.
Facts.
And I go back to, again, what Mike said. Are we honest with ourselves? Are we honest with ourselves in terms of even relationships, right? Are we honest in monogamy, right? Many of us want monogamy. Or are we honest in our, proclivities for polyamorous relationships? So are we really being honest with ourselves for our desires for relationships? And if we are not, is it making us happy or unhappy? This is Dr. Earl, and I just want to thank you all again for sharing this experience with us, and we will see you in another 3 months for the next conversations. God bless all.
Yeah, so filming Throuple was a lot of fun. We did it, I believe, under five days. And so when you essentially shoot a film, it's not linear with what you see on screen, right? So it just so happened the BDSM dungeon scene that you see was our very first shooting day. Just straight up, the crew all meeting each other, the actors, acting together, first shot, first day, that was it. So there was a lot of exercises that we had to do to get comfortable with each other. I had the cast go out to breakfast, get to know each other that way. And by the time that they got on set, it seemed like they were a lot more comfortable. And it was just, really interesting, strapping up our character Ben to the gymnastic beam and doing that for day one for shooting. Other little gems that were also in there there's a cameo with my own Throuple, which is in the I believe it's in the strip club scene. You'll see them throwing dollar bills, and I think that's it. Yeah.